Okay, it's 12 o'clock. It looks like this is the group we're working with. I'd like to call a meeting to order of the Waterways Commission. We'll start with a roll call. Roger Race,
Here.
Andy Herlihy.
Here.
We have Andrea next. And Andy, we did Andy. Okay, I think we're good. Kevin, Roger. Okay.
TJ.
Here.
Oh, TJ, there he is. Okay, I knew somebody was supposed to jump in after Andy. You just got a very small picture on my screen there, TJ. Oh, yeah, hiding up there. Okay. All right. I guess we're going to wait for our harbor master to join us. We can do the minutes of the meeting while we're waiting for Steve. Need to have a roll call approval or discussion for the meeting minutes of 1/14/24.
I make a motion to approve. Yeah.
Okay.
Or second. 1 second. Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roger?
Aye.
Andy?
Yep. Aye.
TJ?
Yes.
Andrea? And Kevin is yes. Okay. I guess we're going to wait for Steve for the next. All right, we'll jump out of order for a bit here. I think a water quality report from Andrea, which is number 4, we could do next while we're awaiting Steve's arrival. So, Andrea, if you want to give us some information on that, that'd be great.
And
Okay,
there's
yeah.
our harbor master. I've spoken with, sorry, I'm doing the minutes. There we go. He's here. Got it. So I spoke with Chris Mashad, the director of the health department, and he's spoken with Mass DEP about doing a quality control plan for sampling, got some good advice from them. He spoke to SMAS, to the University of Massachusetts School of Marine Technology, about the possibility of them doing certified lab or lab analysis of the coastal nutrient samples, and they were responsive to that. They'll be sending in a quote maybe as early as this week. And he spoke with the Buzzards Bay National Estuary Program, Joe Costa, about possible grants in the future. The Buzzards Bay National Estuary Program is a federally funded program. They are anticipating having a grant round in the fall, and they would recommend that there will be funds, and that we should do it in the fall as opposed to next year, and that it's more of a for using water quality. It's more of tracing or chasing potential pollution sources. So we're going to start the sampling we want to start the sampling this summer with more of a basic sort of which tributaries to the Slocum River are likely to have the most pollution. Second issue, if any questions on that, I'm kind of a long winding. Yeah.
Andrea, who is going to specifically do the water quality sampling, and then who is going to analyze it? So
at this point, Chris is thinking that he and his team, which I think is his assistant, harbor master, he's thinking that they are going to do the sampling themselves.
Have they ever sampled water quality before?
Yes, they have. They sample with some regularity for enforcement purposes. They've never done a QAP before, but that's something that they'll be preparing. He's preparing now, and I'm kind of helping out a little bit on the side.
But I just want to make sure we're collecting data in the appropriate manner so that the state says, "Oh yes, that's good, and you've done it the correct way."
That's been reason I've been involved with this for that same reason. In terms of a lab, SMAST was recommended both by Mass DEP and by Dr. Costa, because apparently marine nutrient samples are a little more difficult to do, and from, so they recommended either SMAST if they were willing to do it, or go down to Woods Hole. The regular certified labs are much better at freshwater.
Right.
So he's waiting to hear. SMAST was was very encouraged by it.
Okay.
Because probably because we come with money
if you need
that's
help
not
with that,
federally funded.
If you need help with that, actually, my next talk is with Dr. Stokesbury, who's the dean of SMAS. So happy to help.
Good. So yeah, you might want to say, I understand a proposal is being put together for the health department to do sampling. How's it going?
Excellent.
Thank you, Andrea. Any further
Has-
discussion? Any further discussion on that matter? Okay, Steve, we kind of jumped number 3 just to.
Can I add one more tiny thing about water
Absolutely.
quality? There was
Absolutely.
I just want to reference an email that we all received from Gary Cooper, Mass DP Bureau of Air and Water, acknowledging receipt of the town's petition to revise the solid waste regulations.
Okay,
A meeting will be scheduled soon.
good. I saw that. Okay, Steve. Welcome, Steve.
Hi guys, sorry I was
again,
late. I didn't realize how long it was going to take to log in this morning, but here I am.
That's okay. You're a busy guy. We're at number 3, Steve. If you could, the pending open grant projects, if you could go through those for us and give us some insight as to where we are, please.
Certainly. First, we've had a dredge study. This is not to actually start the dredging, but it is one of the first or the initial step to look at, see whether it's feasible and what options we might have if we decide to go for that. And I think I sent everyone a copy of that. We're looking at a $2.5 million project for the scope of what was studied. That's based on the sampling that was done and the amount of junk, let's say, that they found in those sediment samples. So step 1, checked. Step 2, I don't know, but I'm not really ready to jump on that yet. I think when the opportunity arises for funding for whatever step 2 might be, it might involve permitting or design or something along those lines. We've built the foundation upon which step 2 and then 3, if that's how many steps there are, will actually rely upon. So that is done. The finances of that, there was some money matching grant funds that weren't used. I haven't gotten a tally, but we're working on finding out if we used all of the CPC funds or not. The SEC funds are apparently expended. I'm not sure how they did that. Usually it's the local first, but I'll get you a report on the funding.
Okay.
It would not be significant if there were. I think the matching funds on this might have been in the $10,000 range.
Okay.
The next project is Rogers Street. I didn't apply for this grant. None of us did. Sean McGinnis did. He designed it or envisioned it to be an engineering study of Rogers Street and what options we would have as a municipality to further improve on the Water Street access to Clark's Cove. I have not heard anything about this. I know they were looking to hire somebody to do the study. I don't know that that's been done. Nobody has contacted me. Last time I even had this on my radar was a sit-down meeting with Chris Vitale sometime shortly after Sean left. I couldn't even tell you the date without going through my calendar. But to me, it's a non-issue. It's a plate that's now back in the cupboard, no longer spinning. And I don't know what we're going to do as a town with a significant amount of money that was awarded through SEC. I also don't know where the match was supposed to come from. Sean had that figured out, and I think it resided in his head. I didn't hear whether that was going to be ARPA funds or some other plan. I'm going to say the same for subtitle C, ditto on that, because that was supposed to be a planning study. We have gone through 2 town planners since that was suggested and applied for and awarded to Mr. McGinnis. And I have heard nothing further about that peninsula study. It was to look at both parcels of land. The park department side and the Waterway side, which is really not Waterways, it's the select board side, and figure out if it was being utilized to its highest and best use, what alternatives could be suggested, and then find out if there was any appetite to improve on both sides of that fence. But nothing and no match identified there.
Mhm.
The one that I can give you good news on is the Dias Landing Marina construction. There's several subtopics under that because that's actually going to be done within a month, probably before the start of next month, but I don't want to jinx it. They are working diligently through snow, sleet, hail, rain, hurricane winds, and they're getting it done. So there are a few small items like the old float that's on the south side of the pier and the new floats that are going out from the new pier. There is a gap. Gap is probably small enough that some people might try to jump it. Maybe it's too big to make that a safe idea. So I'd like to ask Patrick to come up with a solution if we have extra funds to take care of that attractive nuisance, as it would be called in the legal world, just so that we either thwart people from trying to jump it or allow them to walk safely between the two. There is a height difference, and that's why it's a little bit tricky. There's also an angle involved because it takes I want to say a 32-degree turn to the northeast at that point.
Okay.
I jumped right over the naming recommendation because I think we should do that at the end. I
Yep.
want to detail the public interest because that's coming through my office. We have, by all accounts, that's be Roger, Kevin, myself, and the engineer, Patrick. We should have 9 spaces at the head of that float for dinghies. We probably have 18 people interested at this point that have expressed by email in a date stamp fashion that can't be argued their interest in one dinghy space.
Okay.
We have 150 feet of linear dockage with our current float setup. And we probably at this point have over 200 feet. I'm just saying it this way because it doesn't matter how many people. We have about 200 feet of interested boat to occupy that 150 feet.
Great.
It's not going to be, in my eye, we have not announced the rates, which I understand could be a variable, but we have not announced the rates, but I don't think we're going to have a problem with occupancy, filling the spaces. The rate for occupancy is on the table for discussion, as are minor regulations, if you want to call it. I'm sure we're going to need more refined regulations, and I'll put some of those together for a later proposal, but the dates of occupancy would be important because the season is going to be here in what seems like a minute.
Okay. If we could jump in on those 2 points, I think that Waterways could come up with a number for the rates and a possible occupancy beginning time. So I think the suggested rates, as I recall, was going to be $600 for a dinghy space on the float, and that we were talking about $100 a linear foot for the space alongside the dock, and counting any appendages, outboards or bow rails or anything for a total overall length. If anybody would like to make a motion to that effect, I would entertain that.
I'm sorry, can you, where did we come up with these rates? I don't recall.
The
Subgroup.
rates that we had talked to, Steve?
We met in a subgroup, so there wasn't a quorum, and we looked at neighboring facilities. That would be in Dartmouth, it would be Marshall Marine, Davison Trip, South Wharf, and the New Bedford Yacht Club, and then compared those with other municipal arrangements such as Mattapoisett and Marion. Those were the 2 that have accommodations, and that was what was suggested. It is lower than any of the commercial marinas. It does envision that most people will have to pay $60 on top of that to the state for the public access board parking fee for the season. So your total all in with a dinghy would be $660. And that same accommodation at South Wharf would cost you $750, I believe, for the dinghy and another $800 for the parking. So,
Roger,
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Andrea, we did research it. We felt that this was very, very fair. We put out a press release, and as you can hear, I received numerous requests for reservation right away. And I think these are very reasonable rates to start with. We always said when we went before the CPC, Andrea, that we wanted this particular edition to be self-sustaining, so that the monies that we generate would keep it going for maintenance and all out whatever we had to do. So that's where it all came from. And as far as the season goes, we wanted to just stick with the bridge season, May to October.
yeah, that was going to be the next item. I believe that those rates were somewhat published in the Dartmouth Weekly, as I saw them too, as a proposed rate. So we're just looking to confirm that with the commission right now. And if we all agree and there's no further discussion, we could have a motion on that.
Well, I think they're fair. I think they're very fair, in light of it's being built with public money also. So
Mhm.
it's not a private enterprise, and I think that pricing it somewhere in between the two seems to be the sweet spot.
Exactly right, TJ, and giving priority to Dartmouth residents. Question to you, Steve, were all the emails from Dartmouth residents?
surprisingly, more than 3/4 were, and that was not done by design. Obviously, we put it on our website, we put it on the World Wide Web, but the initial response were Dartmouth residents, which is, I believe, community preservation wanted us to commit to a 20% Dartmouth
Right.
preference based on their 20% contribution.
Right.
I think I could say safely that it's a 75%, but
Excellent.
I haven't assigned anything yet, so we will take a look at that at the end, but I think that's what it's going to work out to be.
Well, it's good news all the way around. One, we got the project. It's going to be finished. I think these are very reasonable rates per TJ. I think that this, having paid, I don't know if TJ got his bill, but I just got my bill at South Wharf, and it is going to be triple that. So this is very reasonable for Dartmouth residents.
One other note that slips into the puzzle here is a commercial rate. I think that we're very, very limited on commercial applicants. I don't know if that's something that we need to discuss on the first year or see how much that plays out going into the second year. But it would seem to me, for the lack of those numbers, that we may just leave them the same for both commercial and the residential rates at this time. And if anybody has anything to offer on that thought.
I would
think that's-
agree. I think the plan is to just see how this goes, right? To see this first year, we got it built. Let's see, we didn't know if we're going to have interest. Seems like we have tremendous interest. I think the rates are very reasonable, and I certainly would make a motion that we vote and approve these rates of $600 for the dinghies for the season and $100 per foot for the in-water floats as we go forward for 2025.
I would just add on the commercial, let's leave it the way it is, and then we would first need to define commercial before we could, consider charging it. So that's something that can be looked at for right now. That issue has not come up. I can tell you that hasn't been an issue with any of the applications that I've seen for space, but it's certainly something we should address in the regulations for use of the facility later.
Okay, we've had a motion has been made. Do we have a second?
Second. Oh, no, sorry, Andy.
Seconded by Andy. Any further discussion on the matter?
What's the rate for commercial?
We don't have one yet. We have not defined commercial.
Why don't we say in the meeting we're reserving the right to come up with a commercial rate when and if.
Right.
Okay. All right, roll call. Roger.
Yes.
Andy.
Yes.
TJ.
Yes.
Andrea.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay, and then the dates of occupancy and deadline for payment. Steve, would you care to expound on that, please?
Well, it isn't done yet. I truly believe it'll be done by March 1st, but it isn't done. So I think that's rushing it. I would like to see the March 31st deadline just be consistent for everything. And that gives me the month of April to get the permits out, to get striping done or identification done, to identify who's going where on the physical wood plank. And then we'd start occupancy this year, May 1st. May 1st through October 1st or May 1st through November 1st. It should not go any later than November 1st. So I think either October, well, the bridge is October 31st. That's the last day there's a bridge tender on duty. So if we wanted to do.
I think making them coterminous with each other is the smart thing to do. The bridge is May 1, correct?
It is.
And October 31st. I think that's pretty much everyone's season or insurable season anyway.
Right, exactly.
Okay. And as far as the deadline for payment, Steve, what do you propose? I'm sorry.
I would like to keep it March 31st based on
Okay.
the new database. The other deadline is March 31st for moorings. At least for this year, let's keep it consistent and see how it works.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to have a motion for the dates of occupancy to be the May 1st through October 31st as a motion, and a deadline for combined with a deadline for payment for March 31st. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll
And do I have
second
a
that.
second? Okay, TJ, and then second by Roger. Any further discussion? Okay, let's have a roll call vote. Roger,
Yes.
Andy.
Yep.
TJ,
Yes.
Andrea,
Yes.
Kevin, yes. Chairman says yes. To further expand a little bit on this marina, I notice there's a little error of omission here. I'd like to talk about whether we would have a little bit of an opening ceremony. I think when you get SEC grant money to the tune of $1 million and some town contribution to a couple $100,000, that to have a little ribbon cutting or something along those lines might be in order. So maybe May 1st, I think, is a Friday. May 2nd is a Saturday. Maybe sometime around there, if the group agreed that we could propose some kind of a little ribbon cutting over there. And anybody have any comments about that?
I couldn't agree more. You have a wonderful moment in time to celebrate something good happening for the town that's going to benefit Dartmouth residents. It's going to be in place for the next 50 years. This is an important piece of build out. I think it should be more than just a little ribbon cutting. I think you should actually take it and then go have a small celebration over at the Maritime Center and elaborate. And if people had any questions, the harbor master could be there answering questions.
Okay.
But certainly let the select board have a ribbon cutting, but I think we should celebrate this wonderful addition to our pier in town and following on with the Maritime Center. It's a wonderful thing. It's worked out, both of which are going to work out very, very well. If you build it, they will come. And we've proven that over and over again.
Okay. Any other comments on that?
It would be more impressive if it could be named at the same time. And I know that's.
Yeah, that was going to be my next order of business. If we
select board process, but
if we could maybe come up with a recommendation for a naming for that and pass that along to the select board, that we could have.
Well, I'd like to make a motion, Kevin. I think there's one man that stands out head and shoulders in the town, and that's Warren Hathaway. And I would like to propose that we name this after Warren, who's done so much for the waterways and so much for the town sailing team. I mean, he's just done it all. So I would be pleased to put his name forward to the select board.
I think that's a great idea. Do we have a motion?
Fantastic idea.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, for those who knew him well, it's a no-brainer. But even for somebody like me who only knew him a little bit, his love of our harbor and love of waterways and bringing waterways forward to where it is today, from a concept to an actual reality.
Yep.
I think, in all honesty, I mean, he definitely did as much as he possibly could for the town of Dartmouth in our harbor.
Not to mention his contribution to the Dartmouth sailing team.
Yeah.
way back when that was in its early days. So, do I have a motion to make, to suggest the naming maybe the Warren Hathaway Small Boat Marina at the Dias Landing?
I think Roger made that motion, I think. He proposed it.
Yeah.
Second. Yeah, I'll definitely second that. Fantastic
Motion been made
suggestion.
and seconded, so we'll have a vote.
Seconded by, was that Andy?
Yes.
Thanks.
This is why we have such good minutes, Andrea. These are the best minutes I've ever read.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess
Thank you.
a little bit of the process is a motion is made and seconded, and then there's a discussion before the vote. So we kind of jumped in with the discussion a little early, but that's okay. So on the motion, Roger,
I am in favor of that motion.
Andy,
Yes, absolutely.
TJ,
Uh-oh. We lose
TJ.
him.
Can you hear me?
Yes, he's a yes.
Yeah.
Andrea,
Yes.
and the chair is a yes. Kevin's a yes. Okay,
Yes, did you hear me on that, Kev?
Yes.
Okay,
Can
and secondarily, yes, Andrew, you're going to say something?
I think we're going back to the opening ceremony.
Yes, that was going to be my next suggestion. If we could form a little subgroup of maybe 2 to 3 people to kind of propose putting something, a celebration together for that day. Do we have any volunteers? I'm willing to put Dana up on the list because she's not here, so we have one.
Never miss a meeting.
So that
So
would be
if there's
Eli as
anybody-
well then? Would that be Eli as well?
Yeah.
Well, we could put Dana and Eli in charge of that. Okay, that sounds good.
Done.
So motion is made to adopt Dana and Eli to take care of the opening ceremony on May.
Can we have, does anybody from this group want to volunteer? Not me?
Yeah. I'm not going to be here.
I'm not
but,
going to be. We need a date if we're going to do it before.
Well, I would think May 1st or 2nd, Friday or Saturday would kind of be
No,
the day we would target.
I'm going to have a family commitment that week. I know a weekend. I know a whole week, I should say.
I
Yeah,
know,
no,
I
I'm
know
in the
May
same
1st is
boat.
the first Friday, TJ, but we may have to start with that ceremony.
Do we want to do it? Do we want to do it with the boats in it? What I'm thinking, so it looks done, rather than, we stand there with a bunch of empty piers and on a cold day.
I'm
Is
just
my
gonna-
question.
Yeah, I'm going to suggest that that weekend in May, you're going to have a lot of launching activity, and a lot of people will think that we're in their way by talking at the pier instead of letting
Okay.
it go by with sails and equipment. So yeah, but I also don't think you could do it on Memorial Day weekend either.
No.
Just as busy.
And the weekend after the 1st is Mother's Day.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
What more appropriate way to have a celebration?
Can I just
Can't
throw
get
this
the
out
calendar.
there? The first priority should be getting the name approved by the select board, and after, if they've approved that, however long it may take them, God help us if we have to have a search committee for that, then we can set the date for the party, basically. So if it takes them 3 months to approve the name, then obviously.
Yeah, I don't think we should cut a ribbon until we know the name of it. I would.
Okay.
And I didn't
Okay.
realize that we don't retain the naming rights.
No, we don't.
I think that's reasonable. The select board met yesterday. They'll be meeting in 2 weeks, I assume. So we'll get that letter out, our minutes out to them, and understand that what we're recommending, and if that plays out, then we'll move forward with an opening day ceremony. So okay.
So
Any more
maybe we can delay who gets on that committee to the
Yes.
next meeting.
Yes, we didn't vote on it, so we'll delay that.
Just saying for Dana and Eli's.
I think we'll all be part of it.
Yeah.
I will definitely be.
and
I will
one
not
other
be there
note,
the first week of
Andrea,
May, but
I
I
know
will
we've
be there
kinda-
after that.
Andrea, I know we've skipped by the minutes already, but would you pass those along to the select board chairman as we discussed? I can talk to you after the meeting and get you his address. So
No, I know, it's still Sean, right? Sean McDonald.
yes, it is.
I got his
Right.
email.
Okay, good. Okay, we all set and ready to move on to the
Kevin.
Oh,
year-
sorry, wait a second, Steve.
Yeah,
Where do you
here.
send them to be posted? They probably should be done at the same time.
I'm sorry, the posting of the minutes.
Yeah,
We have been doing that on our own website, and I would have to have somebody in my office smarter than me to do that. So once they're approved tonight, the PDF version is uploaded to the website for Waterways, and there's a link on the town website that brings you to that page on the town, on the Harbor Master Waterways website.
why don't I pretend I don't know what I'm doing and I send them to the town administrator's office for posting?
That would be fine.
That should be good for a laugh. Yes, that's
Yeah,
fine.
see what happens.
See what
Okay.
happens.
Or,
Okay.
yeah.
Andy?
Yeah, just before we move on, I just wanted to touch base on the or ask a question on the Roger Street SEC.
Yes.
Who in the town should we talk to about where that stands? So I'm pretty curious on that one.
Chris Vitale is the last one I talked to about it. I don't know that, he's been kind of busy becoming a dad, so I don't begrudge him that at all. He was the last one I talked to, so I think he would be the one that would have the most knowledge up there.
Okay.
I think that these grants that haven't been updated, it's on the radar right now. We had a meeting with Gary Carrera yesterday and a couple of the FinCom people. So I think updates will be forthcoming on these grant statuses, the status of the grants, I should say. I don't think status is a word. Statuses is a word. And the other thing that we probably have to suggest that if not much has been done with these grants, that we suggest that we put in an extension to the SEC, because I believe this summer those grant periods are going to close if there's nothing that's moved forward in that regard. So the SEC does accept extensions to grants, and we should probably make the town aware that these extensions are probably necessary. So any more questions on the grants?
I'm not quite sure what the action item is there.
The
Adam,
action-
Andy
the-
asked for an update and what's
Yeah.
happening?
Go ahead, Steve. I
Well,
think
Andy,
just go, Steve. I'm sorry.
Andy, are you looking to reach out to somebody, or do you want one of me or one of us to do that, reach out?
No. I'll reach out.
Yeah.
Wearing my other hat, if I put my community voting center hat on, we're
Yeah.
also doing feasibility studies to improve public access. So
Has
having
anything
the
happened?
yeah, we're well along the way on our project. So it'd be nice to have the projects talk to each other if we're trying to
Yeah.
achieve similar goals, if not the same goal.
Absolutely.
Andrea, on
Who
the
else?
Andrea, on the action issue, we should probably, it appears that Chris is in charge with this, so that we might suggest that should extensions be required, that we might suggest that they request any extension necessary
Is
to
it-
the SEC for grant extensions.
Is that something that you're gonna check with him on?
I will check with him, yes.
Okay,
I'll make sure that he's the person that's going to be in charge of this. Right now, we seem to be in a little bit of a co-town administrator scenario, and we'll find out who is exactly in charge of these grants, and hopefully we'll get at least a monthly or bi-monthly update as to where they stand.
sorry this is just secretarial work here. But
No, that's fine, and you do a fine job, by the way. Okay, does anybody have anything else before we move along? Okay, number 5 would be the Steve, the Waterways year-end report.
Yeah, that's requested of me each year, calendar year. And I've always looked at it as the requirement, meeting the requirement of the Waterways Commission to report to the select board. And I put a short excerpt in there of what Town Bylaw 104-3, the commission shall annually or as otherwise requested report to the select board giving information regarding status, conditions of the town's tidal waterways and public landings. In other words, everything in your wheelhouse. And I've tried to encompass that and include the shellfish department, which really isn't your worry, but I put it in one short, pithy little blurb, mostly not much different from year to year. Because I really, when I get the report, a request for that report, I'm also getting the budget report and getting the list of things to do for the next season. As I like to laughingly tell people, my quiet time, and the list is longer this time of year than it actually is in June and July. But so that is there for your casual reading. It will be part of the town report. And if you see any glaring errors, please let me know. If you see anything I omitted, let me know and I'll include it next time or amend this one if allowed.
Does it include the water quality stuff that's kind of new this year?
Yes, we continued our collaboration with the Coalition for Buzzards Bay on a multi-year water quality study of Upon-Agansett Bay, Padenham Harbor. Trying to see where else we had that. Somewhere in here it mentions the Buttonwood to Brook, I believe. Yeah, that's basically it. It's not detailed, but it just mentions what we're working on and working with. So
Okay. And I guess that answers basically the questions on number 6, the waterways budget and review process.
yeah, I was delayed in filing that because, well, quite frankly, one of the largest sources of revenue for our department has been lost or missing.
That'll
Or delayed.
segue into number 7. Yep.
Yeah, and so the budget is attached. It was presented yesterday to subgroup of the FinCom and Gary as the treasurer. There'll be further review of that and the exercise that I'm required to fill out. But no big surprises other than a pat on the back for paying off the mortgage. I know we should have a mortgage burning party, but I don't think that counts. The town now owns Rogers Street property, number 12 Rogers Street, and the associated property. We own that free and clear thanks to payments from Waterways Enterprise Funds. I believe it was $240,000 plus minor interest paid along the way. But that ended with last fiscal year's payment, so I don't have to account for that $10,200 or $12,000, I think. Take a look at that again, but that revenue stays with us, and I've conservatively estimated revenue from the marina at 15,000. That's conservative. I know we're supposed to do more than that, but that's been factored in. So
Just
for short notes, we should expect revenue in the vicinity of $437,000 and outlay of expenses, salaries, town overhead of 410,000 roughly. And that will be looked at more carefully, I'm sure.
Just jumping back to the excise tax, that is still on the burner. We had a commitment from Gary yesterday that by Friday, all of the preparation necessary to get the Board of Assessors to send out these bills should be complete. There were a couple of little of omissions that Steve took care of yesterday, and names on the list, so that should be organized, and hopefully they can keep their promise on Friday to get these bills out, because that's something that apparently we're not just going to forget about. So, any other comments on the excise tax or any of the?
Is that going to be one season or 2 seasons?
That's something you might want to prepare for. The boating season for 2023, so that was 2 summers ago, was fiscal year 24. That has not been built. Last summer was fiscal year 25 for the 2024 boating season. That one has not been built. It seems like this hasn't been decided yet, but the 2 bills could go out in one envelope, or the 2 bills could go out in separate envelopes. But either way, there are going to be questions about why am I getting billed for 2 years now? And Not to mention, I don't have that boat. I don't, whatever the excuses might be. But I expect there'll be some pain in getting double billed either way, in rapid succession.
There has been
Is-
talk from Gary that some type of explanation will be enclosed with the billing so that they're just not going to get back bills without any information. So once they decide whether they're going to bill individually or as a parcel, some type of information will be enclosed with that bill to explain what's happened and what's expected.
So the
We should-
so they're going to be sending it out for for 2 seasons somehow.
That's what
Yes.
we're owed, yes.
Yes.
And
We
then it'll be
should-
determined what we do with that money because one of those fiscal years is already closed out. The other one we're at the tail end of. But
We should prepare the public. There, I know if I get 2 bills in a row from 2 years ago, I'm gonna
Yeah.
be mad beyond belief with, it better be a really detailed explanation. Because
Right.
unfortunately, the fickle finger of fate will land right on Steve's head and he'll be deluged with people who are upset that the town did not bill on time. So I don't
Yep.
know whether we put a, when we find out what they're gonna say, maybe have an additional note on our website saying, guys, this is not, this is the town, not us.
Absolutely.
Can we preemptively, we probably have all the emails in the database. I mean,
Well-
you're right. Whatever reach out we can do.
On the
Yeah.
website, Andy, maybe, or just a simple blurb, it's coming, watch out.
Yeah, website, emails, whatever.
I don't want-
Because you're right. Go ahead, Steve.
I don't want to put something on the website until I actually know that it's coming because I've had too many false starts. With calls.
Yes,
People
we
have been
thought this was
asking.
going to be solved many times.
Yeah,
Right,
and they're working on it. For 2 years, I've been telling conscientious people they're working on it. You'll get it at some point.
I-
And now I don't know that they believe me anymore. So I don't
Okay.
want to
Mm.
jump the gun. But when they do go out, I would love to have the assessor say, we dropped the ball, not the.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, it's going to become unconscionable if it doesn't get done soon.
Right.
Honestly.
I think we're almost at that point.
Yeah, we're real close. I'm going to be 100%. And you raised the best point of all, that there's a bunch of people who probably either sold the boats, don't have any more contact with anything. It's going to show up out of nowhere.
They shed
You
their
know.
mortal coil. I mean, we can't go after an estate for somebody that people have died in 2 years, and it's not making
Yeah.
light of that, but yeah, it's.
I mean, then it becomes unfair to the people who actually go and pay it afterwards. It's like I said, we're on what I consider to be, or the town, because it's not our fault. We're on what I consider to be the thinnest of positions.
Yeah, can I just say something?
Bob,
Mark
sure.
Glover?
Yep.
Yeah. First of all, I can't believe this happened. Gary's assured me that the bills are going to go out with the statement. But the question is, there's not going to, I'm pretty sure there's not going to be 100% collection. I
You
don't
think,
know if
Bob?
it's 80. What's that? I don't know if it's 80%, 90%, 95%. Who knows? But I'm gonna ask Gary to see what is not paid at the end of that, especially that first year that didn't go out, and try to make it up to the to the waterways, because it's not your fault. It's the town's fault. And I just find it hard to believe that something, if you were a business, and you didn't send out invoices, you're not going to be in business for very long.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you, Bob.
so we'll see. We have our first meeting on Thursday, the FinCom. I couldn't make that meeting on Monday because I'm tied up on Monday, but I'll see what my fellow colleagues have to say about the meeting. But I'll bring it up at the FinCom meeting on
Bob,
Thursday.
to that point, I'm only going to suggest, I'm not asking, but the state law requires that no less than 50% must be given to the Waterways Maintenance Enterprise Fund. It doesn't say you have to give just 50%. And some towns
Okay.
do dedicate 100% of the boat excise to where it belongs or where it's needed, and that's with the Waterways. So that's just a thought.
Okay. No, that's a good point. That's a good point.
I think Bob makes a good point that let's see where the collections end up. We may be surprised one way or the other. So until we verify that, we'll see what we'll do about any shortfalls. Or
Well, fortunately, they're not alarmingly large bills. So,
Right.
I mean, honestly, let's hope we get voluntary compliance because it usually, what are they about? Average about $75, $150, somewhere around there.
Yeah. Okay.
And can I,
And Bob, I'm sorry, Andrea. In all fairness on us, we've been raising this issue for almost the whole time I've been on this commission.
Well,
Does
it's
it
time
make-
to, we'll get it done. Andrea, yes.
does it make sense that the Waterways Committee write that explanation and send it to the assessor's office?
I think that burden falls on the town explaining why to the boaters. And they're well aware of our feelings, so.
All right.
We
Let's see
might
what
say
they
it differently.
I don't want them throwing the bucks at us going, it's your fault. Yeah.
Right.
It's,
Yeah, it'd be
not-
like-
it's really, to me, it's not about fault because, I mean, the town just always gets, dumped on whenever there's a problem. So it's really, to me, it's not about fault. It's really just about the explanation.
Yeah.
Um,
That's what Gary has proposed, to have some kind of an explanation, unless the board feels that we should prepare our own explanation and suggest it. We don't control what goes into the billing, but if we want to write a letter of some kind of explanation, I'm sure it would be reviewed and they would decide whether they wanted to make that enclosure or do something on their own.
I personally would rather just get the bills out and have them we inadvertently fail the bill on this period, but you still owe it.
Right.
And we move on, and half of this money goes to support your waterways,
Right.
that you use and enjoy,
If-
rather than we
If
finger
we try
point
to
some
write
more on
some
this.
type of I'm sorry, TJ.
That's all right.
if
We've
we-
been just finger pointing back and forth.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the amount of people that have been mentioned that were supposed to be able to do this for us, I can't even remember them at this point. There's been so many.
I think it would just appear that we're trying to assign blame to different people.
Correct. I think that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree. Anybody else have any further comments on this matter?
Nope.
Okay. Moving on, and we have the number 9 is there was a request made by a resident last meeting about private navigation channel down to the Dias Landing. Steve, would you care to comment on that for us, please?
Yeah, Tom Babington was in the public at our last meeting and he complained of boats that leave the landing headed to the bridge and then return to the landing through the bridge, striking boats on moorings that are in the designated mooring field. And his suggestion was the installation of private aids to navigation, little buoys that would resemble the Coast Guard buoys to line that thoroughfare. It's not a channel, it's a thoroughfare from the boat ramps to the bridge, might help. We currently maintain one row of mooring balls, the round ones that run from the beach along the causeway to the bridge. That's the municipal mooring lane, if you will. And then the moorings for individuals start about 100 feet away. So there is an open space. Putting in private aids to navigation sounds simple, but they must be licensed with the federal government. They have to have designated locations, geographic locations. They have to have a purpose, which I don't think we'll have a problem with. They have to be maintained by the municipality or the person permitted to the Payton. We currently have one in the harbor. That's channel 13, Green Buoy 13, across from the end of South Wharf. And we did that for the Coast Guard realignment of the channel. We certainly can look into what it will cost to put in, to purchase, put in, and maintain any number of buoys, whether they be red and green, or whether they be center channel buoys. We obviously cannot put any buoy too close to a mooring, so we would have to find the swing of the moorings that are on the north side of that thoroughfare and put this buoy just outside of that. Uh, I'm not sure they're gonna help, only because we have more boats struck on the south side of the bridge than we do on the north side each year. Whether it's inattention or stupidity or impairment, I don't know, but it just strikes me as odd how you can miss a 40-foot sailboat, and people do. They don't.
It happens more than you think.
Yeah.
Steve, what if we just, as part of the whatever we give to the people who are using the landing, or we post it at the landing, the designated way in and out, and just do a little drawing for people, basically say, please use this lane, when
We're looking
coming
at
and going.
we're looking at signage for the new marina, so we could do a professionally developed sign, not something with stick figures that I would draw, but the thoroughfares and the maritime center and the bridge opening and the width of the bridge. Yeah, we could do a local knowledge chart, if you will, that would show that, and the speed limit. I mean, but again, those that would read that are not the ones that are bouncing.
I agree.
But
I agree.
I've also heard this asked before. So, and other towns have multiple pitons, and what happens is the Coast Guard sees that and says, "Oh, great, we don't need to maintain ours any longer," and they pull theirs out. So, yeah, I'm not saying no. I'm just thinking that it's not as easy as it seems that you go out there and splash a buoy. I guess we could and see what happens, but they will cost money. They will need to be reflective, or they'll be run down, and they need to be maintained. So it will be an expense for a mooring company to.
Well, in an answer to Mr. Babbitt, apparently there won't be anything done this year for sure, and it doesn't
Oh.
sound like there's any real need to push this issue any further unless
Well,
we have.
My proposal would be, and again, I don't want to start sounding like a government official, but my proposal would be that we couple this with the dredging project. Because
Right.
obviously, if we were going to dredge a channel, we would
Yeah.
want to identify that channel, and we would add the cost of the permitting and the buoys and the placement to that dredging project, which will, in essence, run from the landing to the bridge and then back south again. So it's,
Excellent, excellent.
I
Okay,
like it. That's a good idea.
Okay.
okay. Number 10, you have a database conversion update, Steve?
yeah, tomorrow's the morning. We're going to go live. We're going to learn how to push which buttons and not push which buttons. And the next step after that would be to come up with our billing. My proposal for this year is going to be to do as we've done in past years, the paper, but now stop also adding the electronic so that it will be belt and suspenders, and migrate or move or push towards a paperless billing system going forward. I only say that because I'd love to say I pushed the button, they all went out. Too bad if you didn't get it. I don't know. This is a new system. I want to make sure that you got it in paper and you got it in email. And if you still didn't get it, then we got to figure out what's going wrong. So a little bit more work, but again, the first time, you're better safe than sorry.
Okay.
That's tomorrow.
I'd like to make sure it works first too.
Absolutely.
It's a smart approach for the first.
Yeah.
First
Yeah.
go
Well,
out.
also, I don't think we want the harbor master chasing people at the end of March who didn't get anything, and we can't confirm whether they got it or not.
Exactly.
At least if we put it in the mail, we know we did our part.
Checks
Right,
in
and
the
if you
mail.
do it-
Yep.
You do
I'm
it
not
both
saying it's going to
ways.
get them even if it goes in the mail these days, but
But you get a
Any-
better chance if you do it both ways. So,
I would
Yeah.
agree.
and that's
Any
what
more
I'm not
discussion
trying
on
to,
that?
I'm not trying to
Any more-
trap or trick somebody. I want to help people make their payment on time. That's the
Yeah.
nature of this. So both gives a better chance.
Any more discussion on database conversion?
Does everyone have a email?
90%. So obviously, look, 10% that I don't have an email for, they're only going to get it by postage, but we're going to push to get an email from everybody. Andrea, some of these people, that's been one of the last little glitches in the deck size tax. They don't tell me what year their boat is because maybe, they don't want me to know what year their boat is, or it's going to make it more difficult to tax them. I've
Right.
solved that problem. It's this year's boat. It's this year's model. So you're going to pay the highest excise. And if it isn't, correct it. It had a line for you to fill out the year of manufacture. If you didn't do that, we don't have it. Correct it
Must-
and get an abatement on the year value. So-
And you may already know, the rest of you may already know this, but with the new database, are you only going to be able to sign up for a mooring electronically?
No, I've left it because I'm a dinosaur that both options are available. I know the town has moved towards taking our way or the highway. I'm still accepting paper and doing it the way I grew up with. So both would be my answer.
You're not the only dinosaur in town. There are probably a lot of boaters who
Yeah.
need to do it by paper.
I prefer. I don't even care if it's just a preference. I have no problem with the paper. By giving the option for electronic, we've cut down considerably. And as the generations turn and whatever gets easier to deal with, maybe more will sign up for it. Paper will become a thing of the past. But I'm from an era where they told me we were moving into a paperless society, and I've seen nothing but more paper. So
All right, we all set with all this discussion? Any public comments? Hearing none, the next meeting. I thought we were gonna make it, was it the second or first Tuesday of the month? So, Andrea, when does that play out?
Oh, does anybody else have their phone open? I
I have
don't.
the 10th of,
What
March
Tuesday the
11th.
11th, March 11th.
March 11th, great, that's right, there's only 28 days in February, so we fall on the 11th again. All
via
right,
Zoom?
we're gonna be doing noontime by Zoom on March 11th. And we hope everybody can make it. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Motion.
So moved. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion's adjourned.